Hi, so I thought I would do another blog about what shows you should go see when you're in London because, as I said in the previous blog, everybody asks me what my recommendations are, and I always say Les Mis and Phantom. They're my two favourite shows. I love them so much. So I've done Phantom, thought I'd do Les Mis. I haven't done a top 10 for Les Mis because I got to like 6 or 7 and it annoyed me that it wasn't a round number. So I thought I'd just ramble kind of at will about why I like it and why it's good, why you should definitely go see it, all the good points that you'll really enjoy about it. Um, so first things first, Les Mis is actually older than Phantom of the Opera. So it debuted a year earlier than Phantom. It debuted in 1985 and it's been going strong ever since. And if something has been going that strong for longer than I've been on the face of this planet, I feel very strongly that it must be doing something right. Interestingly, when it debuted all those years ago, the first kind of response from critics was a bit not really sure this is going to do so well. So I was quite enjoyed that it's proved everybody wrong and been around for over 3 decades, which is enough of a reason for anything that you should go see it, just to kind of have the moral high ground there. But I think part of the reason why it does so well is similar to Phantom of the Opera in that there is no dialogue in Les Mis either. They come on stage at the beginning and start singing, and nobody stops singing until the bows are taken at the end. And that is really important if you don't speak English as a first language. So imagine that you don't speak English, or you speak English but only as a second language, and you wanted to go see something in the West End. I feel like it would be much more sensible for you to go see one of the big shows where there is only singing and the music can dictate how you should be feeling at any point in the show. So, as an example, if you listen to Bring Him Home and if you imagine that you're not really getting the lyrics, the music itself will tell you how you should be feeling at that particular point in the show. So it feels really big, it feels meaningful, it feels sentimental, and therefore that is how you react to it. By a similar token, you listen to Master of the House and everybody's clapping and smiling and you're doing all this business in your seat, or that could just be me to be fair, but people do it, then you know that something funny is going on and this is a comedy moment and this is the bit that's lightening the mood for the rest of the show. And it just gives you a shortcut to how you need to react or how the characters are feeling at this particular point. And because the interlinking pieces are all sung as well, you get the theme and how it develops over the course of the show. And I think that's why you get a lot of tourists in the theatre seeing it and people that don't necessarily have English as their first language. I think because it just does explain to you what is going on without doing it necessarily in words. Also, it's transferred to a crazy number of countries. I mean, I don't even know what the number of countries that Les Mis has performed in stands at. I mean, I'm pretty sure every major country that you can think of, if you can shout a country out to me, I'm pretty sure it's been there. So it has a fan base everywhere, like everywhere. You know, there was a performance a couple of years ago that did a tour in Dubai. There's been performances. It's gone to Broadway. It's gone to France, Germany, Australia. You name it, it's been there pretty much. And I think that it's really important from that point of view, because if you go see it in the West End and you've already seen it in your own country in your native language, you're already knowing what's going on. You've already got it. You've got it. And the lyrics, if you are English and listening to it in your own language, are phenomenal. You know, they express so much meaning and emotion about what's going on. We've all heard Subo singing I Dreamed a Dream. And yes, she's good, don't get me wrong. When she came out and sang that song, the nation just went, oh, en masse. But if you imagine that in the context of the show with an amazing musical theatre performer who gets it all and can do the meaning and the acting and everything that goes with it in the context of where Fantine is at the point in the show. It changes everything. Like, you feel everything so much more deeply when it is in the context of a show. So if you know the songs, or you feel that you've got an understanding of the songs because of things like that, go see the show, because you will see everything ramped up to 11. You know, when Fantine's at that point and she is at her lowest ebb and she cannot get any lower, she cannot be any more desperate, she cannot be any more kind of upset about the way her life has turned out, contrary to how she had it planned. You just feel for her so much. You just want so much for things to work out for her or for Cassette, because you know that she's got a daughter at this point. Bring Him Home again. Everybody knows the song Bring Him Home. You've probably heard it on, like, I don't know, a Royal Variety performance or somewhere. And yeah, it's a good song out of context. You feel it and you think this is quite emotional. In the context of the show, where Jean Valjean meets Marius and wants to save him because he knows that this is the man that his daughter loves and the man that actually really wants to survive the battle and, you know, stay with his friends and do the right thing but also get back to Cassette, you're like, oh, okay, this has so much meaning behind the lyrics when you piece everything together. I remember a couple of years ago, before I took my mum and dad to go see it in the West End as a show, I was watching the 25th anniversary DVD, and my mum came in partway through and sat down and kind of carried on watching it with me. And when we got to the bit where Alfie Boe started singing Bring Him Home, my mum just went, oh, I get this now. Like, I know the song, but I get it. Like, well, yeah, it's 30 years old, congratulations, well done, but it does change when you see it in a run of kind of other emotional pieces that piece together to make an entire storyline. It changes how you perceive everything and perceive the characters. So you might think you've got some of the songs down, but you go watch it, because you haven't. I promise you that for nothing. On terms of the storyline, it's a really, really interesting one, because by rights, when you think about it, you shouldn't root for Jean Valjean. He is a man that has been in prison for 19 years and got released on parole but broke his parole and robbed a bishop. That's a pretty, I mean, good eggs don't rob bishops, do they? He robbed a bishop and got away with it because the bishop's given him the silver and said, I've bought yourself for God, be a good egg. Yeah, by rights, that's not a nice man, but he is, because he's doing things for the right reason. He went to prison initially for stealing a loaf of bread for his sister's son who was dying because they were starving. He stole the silver because he wanted to make a better life. He rescued Cosette from the Thénardiers. Everything that he does is to atone for what he's done that is not good, and therefore you do root for him. But similarly, you should actually root for Javert. Javert is the police officer that is searching for him because he's broke his parole and he wants to bring him to justice, which he has broken the law, I guess. And Javert is a police officer. It's his business to go and you know, put the world to rights in this way and see that justice is done and return criminals to prisons to put them back in jail. And we don't root for him. We think that Javert is getting in the way of Jean Valjean doing his good deeds and being a good man and raising Cosette and doing all these nice things. So it's a really interesting switch around. On paper, you should not root for the people that you root for in these things, and that makes it really interesting because you feel very conflicted about how the characters are. And you think about what is right and what is wrong, and if that provokes that kind of thought in you, you think about it for a long time after you've left the theatre. So it's a show that stays with you. On kind of the subject of the performances, the casting is always insanely good. Like, insanely good. People that have played Jean Valjean are like musical theatre royalty. I mean, Killian Donnelly's just left the role of Valjean. Ramin Karimloo's played the role of Valjean. I saw Peter Lockyer and Geronimo Rauch, and I loved them both, became instantly obsessed with them. And you can't really leave the theatre without thinking that the guy that plays Valjean is like the greatest West End star that there's ever been. But also, you can't leave without thinking that the guys and girls playing Madame and Mr. Thénardier are just comedy geniuses. You can't leave without feeling like Eponine is just ragging your heartstrings out. You can't leave without thinking that, you know, Marius is a real good egg and you're a little bit in love with him. Phenomenal casting, phenomenal. And they also do this thing in Les Mis, which I think is really important. They're going for race-free casting. So they just cast whoever is the best performer in the role, regardless of ethnicity and regardless of race or anything like that. And I think that's a really huge deal. And I really, really love that. So the performers that you get are the people that can make you feel what the characters should make you feel, and can sing the songs the best, and can act the best, and can, you know, perform everything that they should be doing the best. It's not about, oh, you need to look a certain way, or you need to have this skin tone, or you need to have this colour hair, or what have you. They cast people that do the best, and I think that's a really important thing for theatre, and just generally in terms of who you hire for roles and put in situations. If they're the best person for the job, an audience will just react to them and respond to them. I've seen Les Mis 4 times, and I've seen casts of varying races and origins, and I don't care what the cast looks like. If I can leave that theatre crying at Eponine, or rooting for Valjean, or, you know, feeling like Fantine's particularly hard done by and wanting to do well for her, then I think I've had a success. I don't care what these people look like if they've made me feel that way. And I think that's really important, because you will leave the theatre feeling how you're supposed to feel about these characters, because they do such a good job of the performance and of the casting and getting that so right. So that's really, really important. The sets as well are absolutely iconic. So the barricade seemingly comes out of nowhere. It's really clever, because the actual set, there's like the basis of a town with like steps and stuff that the characters walk up or whatever, and then towards, I think it's at starting the second act, I'd just been that long, it sort of comes together like that and clicks together, and suddenly it's a barricade, and the stairs point a different direction, and people run up and down them, and they have a battle on there. It's a spectacle. It's a really simple concept, that we're going to get two pieces that do this and it's something else, but it works so effectively, and everything's on a turntable. So when they're having the battle, it turns around at the end, so you can see kind of what's gone on behind it, and then spins back round. And I just think that's a really interesting way of staging something, because it always feels like there's something huge going on. And actually the sets are not huge, you know, it's not lavish. It's very much kind of a basic, effective use of what they've got and props. And I think that you don't realise that until you stop and think about it, which, if you don't realise it, means that it's doing its job. If you don't think about something in theatre because you just accept it as real, then it's doing exactly what it needs to do. So yeah, they're spectacular. Definitely go see them. The Thénardiers, I've kind of touched on the Thénardiers, are two of the funniest musical theatre characters. They make me laugh. If you have never seen, watched, listened to Master of the House all the way through, do me a favour and Google the 10th anniversary Royal Albert Hall Master of the House with Alan Armstrong as Thénardier and Jenny Galloway as his wife, because honestly that makes me howl. Like, when Madame Thénardier comes out and starts singing her bit of the song, she's just like, I love her. If I could play one musical theatre character, if I could sing, I would play Madame Thénardier, just 'cause, like, she's too cool. I love her. But yeah, it's great that they break up the tension, because on paper, this is another serious, big, you know, kind of dark, lots of death kind of musical. You know, you shouldn't feel that good leaving a musical where most people die, but you do. And I think partly it's because the Thénardiers bring that comedy relief at points where you really need them. And yeah, I just think that they're brilliant. Master of the House is one of my favourite musical theatre songs. It makes me laugh every single time. But then there's songs in there that make me cry every single time, like On My Own. You know, when you're watching Eponine sob her heart out because she's in love with Marius and he's in love with Cosette, it just breaks your heart that she's like, yeah, I love him so much, but I'm on my own. And then she dies for him, and he's like, now I care. Dude, a bit earlier would have been nice. Yeah, that's a rant for another day, but honestly, I love Eponine. She's one of my favourite characters as well, because you feel for her so deeply, and it's partly to do with her performance, it's partly to do with the song of On My Own. You can't help but root for her. Like, the entire musical score is just iconic. It's absolutely iconic. The finale will make you cry. I sob buckets every time. From the moment when, you know, Eponine comes out and does On My Own, I'm welling up. Like, I'm starting to tear. By the time we get to the finale, there's like mascara, snot. It's just generally not very attractive. But the finale, I won't even like explain to you what happens in it, because I'll probably well up. But when Jean Valjean is dying, and the lyrics to that song are like stunning, absolutely stunning. I love it. It just gets me going every time. And even though I'm like crying and I feel so sad in that moment, I sort of feel like he's been vindicated in that moment, Jean Valjean. It's really cleverly written that even though everybody's dead, you sort of don't really mind in a weird way. You sort of feel like these characters have a purpose and that there's a reason for everything that they've done. And when you leave the theatre, you will want to have a revolution about something. It doesn't matter what, you will want to go protest something, get a placard or whatever. And I think if a show like gets that level of emotion out of you and evokes that reaction, then it stays with you for so much longer than when you leave the theatre. I have never seen a show that got me fired up to do something like that. I mean, 4 times I've seen it, 4 times I've cried, 4 times I've left the theatre just feeling fired up and thinking, I can't go to bed, I need to do something else now, I'm too excited. And I know damn well that if I go see it again, I'll have exactly the same reaction. I'll still want to, I don't know, like protest or build a barricade or do something like that. And if everybody leaving the theatre feels like that, then there's really no wonder that it's been around forever. And you need to go experience that for yourself. You need to go have that feeling, because there is no feeling like it in the entirety of the West End.